welcome to day 3 of the Wanderer's Clutch sew along. I'm so excited to be here with you today to walk you through the next steps of the Wanderer's Clutch. So grab your Escape Travel Set book and let's get started. So here is where your clutch should be up to. So in video 1 we completed the flap piece, including the magnetic snaps. Video 2 we completed the card slots, and then I went on to finish my front panel, joined it all together. It's looking nice. I added the little D-ring so that I can attach I'm going to do a bright yellow tassel at the end, and I've decided that I'm using Rainbow Hardware and Zips because why not? It's super bright anyway. So that's the front done. I then went on to finish my back panel, including the back pocket for your phone. I didn't think you guys needed a video for that. So if you do get stuck with the piping, just jump back to video 1 and follow the piping instructions that we've done on the flap piece, and you'll be able to manage that easily. So this is where you should be up to now. So you've got your front panel completed, your back panel completed, your 2 lining pieces, which I'm going to talk about in a second. We then would also need a zip and the 2 little zip tabs, which I've just clipped on the end. I'm going to talk more about zips in a minute. As part of the sew along, I wanted to provide you with some extra options that you might like to try with your clutch. So this is a 6-inch ruler here, and as you can see, there would be plenty of room if you wanted to add the 6-inch zip pocket, which is Appendix 2 in the book, to give your clutch an extra zip option. You can follow Appendix 2 if you would like to do that today, to add that to the lining of your clutch. The other option that I've seen some people do is they've actually added the card pockets exactly as we did in video 1. They've added that to the lining of their clutch as well. So they've replicated this here so that when you open your clutch that you've got some card pockets in there. So that's another great option as well. That's nice and easy to do. Okay, before we get started on our zipper tabs, which are the next step, I wanted to run you through the differences in zips. So you will note that the patterns suggest using a number 5 zip, and some people may not know exactly what that is, so I thought I would tell you today. So a number 5 zip is also commonly called a handbag zip or zipper, and the difference is, you can see the blue one that I'm holding is a number 3, and it might be a bit hard to see there with the colours. The number 5 is the rainbow one behind it. So you can see that the number 3 zip tape is skinnier than the number 5. You'll also often find that the zipper pulls on the number 5 zips are a little bit larger and easier to grab. I can't actually find any zip pulls because I rarely use number 3 zips anymore, sorry. But you get the idea. So number 5 zips come in different finishes. The one that I'll be using today, I buy mine by the meter length. So this is actually nylon zipper teeth that looks like metal. So I really like that finish. And the beauty of this is I can sew straight over it without having to worry about the needle on my sewing machine being smashed up as I'm sewing through. This is also a number 5 zip, but this one's a metal one. So if I was to use this, I would just, when I'm sewing my zip tabs on, which I'll show you in a minute, I might need to hand crank my machine to get through the teeth. Otherwise, if the metal on your sewing machine needle hits, obviously the metal on the teeth here, it will break and cause some damage. So this is my preference. Well, for those asking, I get these from whosaysew.com in Australia. Okay, so I also thought while I had my zips out, what I might do is show you how I put the zipper heads on. And you could also have a double zip pull for your clutch if you prefer. So I might actually do that on this one just to show you another little different technique. Okay, so I'm going to show you how I put one zipper head on and then how I put two zipper heads on and make it a double pull zip. So the most important thing is to make sure that the zip heads are the same size as the zip tape. So I know this is number 5 tape and number 5 heads. You just split one of the ends open. I have cut that cleanly with some sharp scissors. Okay, so I've split the end of the zipper tape probably about 2 inches, and then just look which way that's facing. So the zip head is facing towards me. I just put one side on, not all the way down, and then push this side in. Now, whoops, of course it's going to go wrong when I'm trying to show you. So as you can see, I've pushed the zipper tape up towards the end of the zip head, and the zip pull is facing this way. Can you see that? So then I just use my fingers and just push. It's not very hard on these ones, they're nice and easy. And just gently pull. And it's on and ready to go. So that's one pull. I can show you that again if you like. Let's go off this way. Okay. So with this zip tape, it's it goes two ways. Some zip tape only goes one way, but this is then nice and easy to do my double pull that I'm going to show you. So again, just squish it in there and pull, nice and simple. Okay, so now to make it a double pull zip, we're now going to go back the other way. Now I'm making sure that the zip heads are facing each other, and just repeating exactly what I've done, like so. Squish her in, and there we go. We now have a double pull zip. Nice and simple. It does take some practice. These are the only zips that I use these days, so I'm very used to doing them, but just practice. You can't wreck them. I think they look really pretty like this. Okay, so if we jump to page 14 of your book, and we're working on step 7, zipper tabs. We're going to take the zip tab piece of fabric that you've cut. You then fold it in half like so, give it an iron, open it back out, fold to the center, and fold up. It's just like you're making bias tape. You will do that for both zipper tab pieces. This technique is exactly the same that I use in my fold over party clutch pattern, my turnabout pouch pattern, my tainted love clutch pattern, my Harlow bag, and I'm sure there's more. So if you're familiar with this technique, you'll find it simple. Now I've just cut this nice and clean, and I'm just going to use some fray stop and put that on the end. To make sure that my zip tape doesn't fray. You can wait for that to dry if you like, but you're then going to open your zip tab like so, and you're just laying the zipper tape in the middle, not on top, not behind, just in the middle, and closing like so. And you're going to pin or put a wonder clip to hold it in place. You then go over to your sewing machine and you just stitch straight across this edge. This is excess and we will cut that off later. I just find I made it a little bit longer than the width of the zip tape because I find it gives you a bit of grab room, which is just makes it a bit easier to sew. So I will then go and sew across here using my top stitch. So I'll be using a 3 or a 3.5 stitch length. I've just used a 1/4 inch seam allowance and just stitched straight across that edge. I haven't gone right to the edge because I'm going to cut that off in a minute anyway. You could do a couple of stitch lines here. You could do some fancy stitching if you prefer, whatever you like. I'm now going to cut the zipper to the correct length that is stated in the pattern. So I've cut this to length and I'm just going to repeat the exact same process for this side. Sandwiched in the middle and then stitch straight across. I am going to do the double zip pull for this one, just for something different to show you. So your zipper is now all finished and ready to sew. Let me show you some tips for this one. Okay, so I've just grabbed my finished front panel of the clutch and my zip, and your next step is going to be laying the zip right side down, centered. You're going to stitch across here. If you're worried about sewing zips, or this may be your first time, you may find using double-sided tape, this is skinny double-sided tape, it's about 1/4 of an inch wide, you wouldn't want any wider than that. What you might find helpful is to run this down here, I can show you that, and snip there. Peel off the paper backing like so, then lay your zip centered and just press along that top edge. Now what that does is it just holds your zip nicely in place for stitching. It can be a bit tricky to get pins to sit nicely, and sometimes you'll find you might get a bit of a wonky finish, so this will help that. So you're going to just stitch along here to hold that zip in place. Then you're going to get one of your lining pieces, just say you've already done that stitching, lay that on top, remembering also, sorry, that when you sew you need to make sure those zip heads are out of the way, or again you'll end up with broken needles. So I would place this one on top, flip over, and I would then follow that stitch line, but going right from the edge to the other edge. So I will do that and come back and show you. Okay, so that is done on one side. So I just then pull the lining and the exterior wrong sides together, because I now want to get this edge to sit nice and flat. So you might go away and iron that. Okay, you're then going to top stitch along here. You'll notice that the flat piece is opened. You are not stitching right across here, or the flap doesn't open nicely. So you would top stitch along this edge. It really doesn't matter what seam allowance you use. I probably use 1/4 inch. So we'll go across here, top stitch. Then that part is done. I would then repeat the exact same process for the other side of the clutch before I then am ready to piece it all together. Just showing you as I go. So note right sides together, that's my back panel, and I've laid my zip on here and I've top stitched there, taking the other lining piece and placing it here. Just excuse my little mash-up, I ran out of fusible fleece, so I just ironed it on. So we'll then go again across the stitch line that I've just done, but going right from this edge to the other edge. Okay, so your clutch now should look like this. Getting to the exciting part now. So as you can see with the fabric next to the zip, because we've used the number 5 zips and they are that little bit wider, you can see that we haven't stitched super close to the zip teeth, which really makes opening these nice and easy. That's why I recommend number 5 zips over number 3. So now it's time to piece all of this together. So what I like to do first, just so that this gets out of the way, I just fold my flat piece over like so, and I just pin through that outside layer wherever you can. It's not too thick. Just find it makes the next step a little bit easier. You will then note that the pattern states to open the zips the whole way up. Very important. Just like so. You're then going to take the exterior pieces and place them right sides facing, and the lining pieces and place them right sides facing, just like this. Now, this part is important. See those little folds there? You want to fold them back towards the lining and making sure that they're lined up as perfect as you can get them. Can you see that there? Okay, I'm going to try and hold it in place with the Wonder Clip. I want you to do that to both sides, get them lined up perfectly, and I flip, like I said, I flip those little edges towards the lining. You're then going to do what I call a stay stitch. This is just an extra tip that makes sewing this all together a little bit easier. So what I'm going to do is just stitch about 3 inches from here to here, just in that seam, just to hold those 2 bulky seams in place. It makes sewing the rest of the clutch really easy. So I will do that, and then we'll move on to finishing the whole clutch off. Okay, so as you can see, I've stitched here to hold that in place and hold this one in place, which makes this next step really easy. So what I'm going to do then is pulling my fabric nice and taut. I'm going to use Wonder Clips. You could use pegs if you don't have Wonder Clips, or bulldog clips, and you're just going to clip all the way around your clutch. You need to leave a turning gap in the lining, which would be here. Okay, so you can see that I've put Wonder Clips around all my edges to hold in place. I'm now going to stitch from this pin all the way around here back to this pin. I've left about a 4-inch turning gap in the lining. When you're stitching over this join here, you won't actually touch the zipper tab at all. There should be a gap between the zip tab and your seam. I'll show you that in a second. Okay, so now the fun part. You finished all of your stitching except for one little part. Your role now is to turn your clutch the right way out through the turning gap in the lining. But first, we're going to cut out any bulk in the seams and on the curves before we do so, which will give our clutch a beautiful finish. Okay, ready for the big reveal. Always the exciting part. So you're just going to turn through the hole. Just remember there's some pins inside there, so we don't want to do that. Don't do that. Just go gently. This part is called by some birthing the bag. It's kind of like that after all the work you've done. Okay, so it looks a little bit of a hot mess, but let's poke all the seams to be where they're meant to be. So I find a chopstick really helpful. Get those bent pins out of the way to get in and just push out those seams like so. Same with these little tab pieces. You just want to get your chopstick in there and poke them out. Same on this side. So it's just a little bit of pulling and pushing until you get your clutch where you want it to be. Okay, it's looking pretty good. My next step would be to go away and give that a quick iron. Okay, so now that's sitting a little bit better since I've given it an iron. So my final step is to close the turning gap in the lining. So I just pull my lining piece out, push the turning gap together. You can give that an iron again if you like. Then I'm just pinning to hold that closed. Then I'm just going to stitch from here to here. You can hand stitch if you like. I'm going to machine stitch. Now your Wanderer's clutch is all finished, apart from any little bits that you might want to hang off your little clip here, whether that be a tassel or a wrist strap. So all you have to do now is put some cards in your card slots, and you're all done. Thank you so much for sewing along with me to create a Wanderer's clutch. I hope you've had a great time doing this sew along. I sure have. I really love these clutches. They're such a great gift for people. I know exactly who this one's for. A friend of mine who I know loves beautiful bright colours and is in need of a gorgeous gift. Have a great sewing day, guys, and don't forget, please subscribe to my channel. Feel free to share, like, all of those good things. Tell your friends about my new book if they would like to sew along as well. And have a great day. Thanks so much. Bye-bye.